call our City Council regular meeting to order for month of April. This time I'd like to introduce Gene Farmer, the pastor of Riverview Baptist Church. He has our invocation, and then after that, Corporal Michael Brubaker will have our Pledge of Allegiance. So if y'all would stand with me, please. Gene.
Let us pray. Father, we just thank you for this day that you have given us and blessed us certainly with another day of life. We thank you certainly for that. Lord, we thank you for each and every one that's here tonight. Come to this assembly time, Lord, to come to do your business here in this city. Lord, our prayers tonight that we will have discernment of things that need to be accomplished that will better your people. Lord, so we ask your guide and direct each thought tonight, everything is said and done. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Chief Brubaker.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. We're going to take a little bit of a detour from the agenda. We have some important people to recognize, and we're going to do that at this time. I want to read this first. This is firefighter Brian McFalls and firefighter Greg Johnson. Just what they recently accomplished. They completed the 40-hour smoke driver's course at the Tennessee State Fire Academy. This is traditionally thought to be the toughest, hardest, physically and mentally demanding courses in the fire service. It's designed to help a firefighter escape a no-win situation in a structure fire. So it's developed. This course is developed to develop maximum firefighter capabilities while working in protective breathing apparatus. The full potential of the firefighter and associated equipment is achieved in physically and mentally stressful situations. The course is mastered through performance-based objectives that each firefighter must complete. The course is designed for experienced firefighting personnel and requires an extremely high degree of physical fitness and the ability to cope with physically and mentally demanding situations. They must be in good physical condition, as you can tell. So I'd like for Greg Johnson and Brian McFalls to come forward, and we'd like to recognize them for their accomplishment. Happy picture, right? Congratulations. Yeah, let's give them a good hand. I think it's been said before from previous council. I know this council feels the same way. We've got the best of the best, and I think that just proves that. We wanted to move that up on the agenda because little kids don't like to sit here for that long. So Chris has a little one out here somewhere. First, I'd like to read the mayor's welcome. Good evening, and thank you for coming to our monthly meeting of the Loudon City Council. My name is Mayor Jeff Harris, and on behalf of the council and the staff, I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting. Tennessee law gives every Tennessean the right to attend city council meetings and to observe how their government is doing business. We appreciate that each of you taking time out of your busy schedule and your personal schedule to be here tonight to see how our city government works. You should have a copy of tonight's agenda. If you don't have one, there's some on the back table back there. Feel free to pick one up. It's your guide to how we're going to discuss things tonight. In order to conduct efficient, business-like meetings, the council has adopted specific rules to follow. These rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, assure that all points of view are heard, considered, and to provide for common courtesy. In a few minutes, we'll come to a place on the agenda entitled Citizens Input, where anyone wishing to address the council is encouraged to do so. We do, however, ask that you wait until you've been recognized by the mayor. After being recognized, please stand to address the council and state your name for the records. Also, address your questions to me as the chairman. Don't ask questions of the council, members, or staff. If necessary, I will ask the council member or staff member to address your question or comment. Please avoid the use of improper language, profanity, and other inappropriate conduct. Once this portion of the meeting is complete, the council will proceed with the items on our agenda You're welcome to stay and observe what goes on the agenda the rest of the meeting, but be advised that public comments will be limited. We ask that everyone remember that we're doing the people's business here tonight. It's a very important responsibility for all of us. If you can help us do this by observing the rules we've established, and again, we want to welcome you to our meeting tonight. Now, we have several individuals here. At this time, we'll enter into our citizens' input. Time for anyone to address the council that you'd like to address the council. Please stand and state your name, and then proceed. Who wants to go first?
I'm Don Kincaid. I've been a long time resident of Green Acres for over 45 years. And me and some fellow neighbors are here to discuss an issue that we're very concerned about. There's actually several issues. The one I'm mostly concerned about is a neighbor across the street from me at 1631 Gale Street. He's, in the last several years, really become very temperamental. And he has had some issues with not myself so much as some other neighbors. And I have seen instances where I have had to call 911 because I thought it was really going to get out of control. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm really concerned with somebody ending up getting hurt. That's one issue. Another issue, which some of you are probably aware of, is the animals that he has on his property. In my eyes, he started off with a moderate amount, and he was given a permit. This is, as I understand it, or whatever. He was given a permit, and at that time, to the best I can remember, which was several years ago, he had about 3 goats and chickens, rabbits. I don't know if he had the ducks then or not, but numerous animals, and they allowed him a permit to have them on his property. Well, now that has quadrupled what he originally had. We did sign a petition along the area stating that we were okay with it. But in most of our eyes, and I'm speaking for everybody, they can speak up as they wish, it has gotten out of hand. They're wandering the neighborhood, causing all kinds of issues with everybody. There's been property dispute issues. There have been what I thought was weapon issues. It apparently was not a real gun. It was maybe an air rifle or something, but dangerous just all the same. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't know. I think he probably has some weapons inside the house. I don't know for sure. But the way he is and as temperamental as he is, I'm very concerned that somebody's going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Don. Anyone else?
I'm Wes James. Lived in Green Acres since 1979. Excuse me. I could probably be one who is partly responsible for this being here today. Because several years ago, Patrick asked me to help him when he had an initial problem with either codes, or I don't think they had codes then, either some facet of the city government. Mm-hmm. And he had at that time 3 or 4 goats, 5 or 6 chickens, and 2 caged rabbits. And he asked me if there was anything I could do to help him get to retain those. I did. I'm not going to drag up the people I called and talked to, but I talked to some people, and they said, well, that doesn't sound bad. Now, I was shocked today when I heard he is permitted for 12 goats, because that is far and beyond the intent that we would have approved even back then. He had 3 or 4 goats, 5 or 6 chickens, and 2 caged rabbits, which wasn't an issue, and he well controlled them at that time. But his personality and demeanor has changed drastically since then. The animals have multiplied to the point where it's almost an out of control issue. He's got geese as well. He's got chickens that, you know what chickens do at 5 o'clock in the morning normally, male chickens. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the other residents here may tell you, and this, I'm not affected by it. My neighbors are. And I was part of getting him approved, and I felt like I needed to be here tonight. But there's some opportunity that he is breeding, raising, and selling those goats commercially. Because I think you'll have people speak up who have witnessed goats being transferred to pickup truck occasionally, and he has a man that lives with him who allegedly told one of the parties here that he had 14 goats last year and all 14 of them were pregnant. So if he's permitted for 12, he's got 14 pregnant, that means he's got to have at least 15, which puts him at 29 at some point in the game, unless he can get them out of there fast enough. It's just that it's gone so much further than what the people who signed that petition ever intended. And he has taken advantage of what we did to try to do the right thing. And it's far and beyond the scope of what we ever thought it would get to. And I have the same concerns Don stated. He never has done it to me, but I can see Patrick becoming very upset and maybe to the point of violence. I don't know. I hope he's not stupid enough to walk around with a black military-style pellet gun and wag it around in front of people, because I know what that can get him. But we're just wanting to see if there's anything to be done to get this back to a more normal state. And you all should have police reports, fire reports, code inspector reports. There's been multiple incidents taking place at this residence over the last several months.
Yeah. Thank you, Wes. And we do have those reports, and we have looked into it. Ronnie?
I'm not good at this. He threatened my wife. When it first started, he cut down a tree that him and Robert planted 10 years ago. He was cutting it down, and it got cut down. Miriam went over to the front door, not in the house, in the front door, and rung the doorbell, and Danny come to the door. She said, Danny, why did you cut that tree down? Well, Danny hollered upstairs for Patrick. Patrick run down the steps and slid down the steps and started cussing her out. Said, I can cut them all down because I planted them. And then he ran to the kitchen and got a knife and almost stabbed my wife on the front porch. Miriam come over there, and I was just steaming. I didn't know what to do. And I said, Ronnie, you cannot do this. I was going to go over and start a fight. One of us about wind up shot or dead or something. I was so mad because he threatened her. He called her everything under the sun, and all she asked was, why'd you cut that tree down? Well, several days later, he cut another tree down. We went over there, and he said, I'm going to cut them all down. This is all my property. I said, no, it's not. It's not your property. We had a big, big blowout. I was so ashamed of myself for what I said. But anyway, the threat of that man is awful. I can't mow my yard between the two houses, because I did the other day, last Saturday, and I had neighbors watching to see what he would do. Danny left to do drugs or ever what he does. He came, he was gone, and I mowed beside. He's my property and Patrick's property, 10 feet away. I went by him, and he shouted out. He started screaming bloody murder, you hit me, you hit me. I know I didn't hit him because I had people watching. And I went back and mowed and kept mowing. I finally got over to the part of the yard, and then Danny drove up, and I could hear them just cussing each other and cussing me. And I'm sick of that. I'm so sick of somebody cussing me, and I can't do nothing. It's terrible. And he cusses the cops. Where does that come from? You don't cuss a cop unless you're arrested. I watched it many times on TV. If they cuss them, they're arrested and put in jail. I admire our police force. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Ron.
My name is Jason Bartholomew. I live directly behind Ronnie and Patrick, the guy with all the animals. The animals is uncalled for. There are so many animals. His whole backyard literally is animals. It's a fire hazard. Now he's put an electric fence up around Ronnie's side of the property, my side of the property, there's kids in that area, there should be a barrier fence in front of the electric fence at least. But there's not, and nothing's being done. He's got to be far over his limit with his permit. I had him screaming and yelling at me the other night. I caught him standing in my trees looking into my backyard. And he was on Ronnie's property then. The guy he's belligerent. I mean, you cannot even speak to the guy. If you approach him about the animals, look out. Call the cops, have him on the way, because he's going to lose it on you. And, you know, my garden last year, destroyed. I'm over it. I mean, I feel like I have the right to defend my property. If ducks and chickens and whatever else is getting in my garden, I'm going to put a stop to it. That's what I got to say.
Thank you.
I'd like to go just to clarify some things.
Just state your name.
My name is Abby Bartholomew. The permit or the petition that went around, I had no knowledge of that. We did not sign that. We've been there since 2011, I think. The main issue for me is the sanitary issue from the animals. When you have 14 goats on an acre of property, and then you have all of the guineas, and you have the ducks. The pellet rifle, yes, they have been marching up and down their property line with this pellet rifle. About 2.5 years ago, I did have one come flying by my head, and we filed a report on that. Nothing ever seems to be done. We've watched him stand and cuss the cops. I mean, to the point to where it's echoing up and down, you know, one street. And, you know, at what point do you say, you know, you don't have the right, you do have the right to freedom of speech, but there's also respect for authority that you have to have. And if he has no respect for police officers, do you think he has any respect for us as his neighbors? Whenever, you know, I can't let my kids go outside and play because I don't know if he is in retaliation to another neighbor. With the case 2 years ago, he was shooting at a pool filter, hoping that it would traject into another neighbor's yard. It did. It trajected into mine. So how can I, in full confidence, even let my children go outside and play in their yard? And I don't feel like the animals should have been. If the animals had not been permitted, there probably wouldn't be this big of an issue. But, you know, even he has made the comment in the past, when one dies, well, I've got to go get more animals because that's what I'm permitted for. And I feel like if there was a permit given, it should have been maintained better. There should have been better surveillance of that permit. Because from his standpoint, he feels like he has been permitted for a petting zoo back there on an acre of land in the city limits. So I just hope that you guys recognize the safety issue that this poses. There's a sanitary issue and there's safety issues. And we as neighbors, it's gotten to the point we don't know what else to do besides come to a city council meeting. And it shouldn't have gotten this far, especially with the disrespect that he has showed to our police officers.
Thank you. I know firsthand how the disrespect goes, because
Yes.
he talked to me the same way.
Absolutely.
Back in 2017, Mayor Greenway at that time, there was an issue came up. And one reason for the permit is because he had a lot more than what he's allowed to have now, permit. That's one reason for the permit.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What is the fine per animal that he is? Is there a fine for that?
I don't think there is, and Travis, our codes enforcement officer, can speak in just a minute. But when we went down this road a couple years ago, it was way out of control, and this was an effort to try to stabilize that, because they weren't fenced in, they weren't being controlled or caged or anything.
You can't imagine the problem. And
So basically, I was told, you know, never to step foot on that property again, and cussed out just like
everybody else is.
yeah. So, but at that time, our codes enforcement officer went down and verified the situation and took matters in and that's where the permit came from. And things kind of settled down after that. Travis, you want to say anything or speak to any of that?
We had this issue, I guess, back in 2017. It's a delicate situation. I mean, we have a man who's threatening violence, and we were trying to work an agreement that would be beneficial to everybody the best we could, and it is. And that's what we permitted to him. Now, currently, we haven't been back out to do it. There was a dispute there. I was letting the situation calm down a little bit before we returned, and but at some point in the future, my plan was to go out there and see where he is, and see how many animals he has, and make sure that he's within the boundaries of the permit. And if not, then we would work to an agreement to get down to that level. And if he wouldn't comply, then we could void the permit. And at that point, we would have to find means to deal with the situation.
Well, at the time too, he was, as you've all heard, I'm sure, he was going to leave the neighborhood. He was going to move. He had some property he was going to purchase, and so we were letting that kind of work its way out, which never happened, you know. So there were some situations, as Travis mentioned, that we're trying to let play out to fix the situation, but they never panned out. I mean, he didn't move. Please.
I understand letting the situation settle, but you have an imminent problem right now that we've spoken of, the exposed electric fence. And he's putting planking around the property, which will be on the outside of the electric fence in the future. But there is a tremendous amount of electric fence that is exposed right now that young children have access to. And I would say to whoever's job it is to do it, that needs to be looked at now.
Okay, thank you, Wayne.
So if I would like to get a cow and put in my backyard in that subdivision, is that okay? Because that's beneficial to me.
You need to talk to, you know.
If we act crazy, will you permit me a whole farm?
Okay. Manager Ross, you have anything you want to?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
I went to the register of deeds office and checked the deed restrictions back in 1941. There are no restrictions. I went out and had a visit with the guy. He took me around the property. It is nasty. All the rain we have has even enhanced it. There's nasty, dirty rolls of hay, rotting hay. He had 15 goats with babies, and he did, after talking to him for a while, he finally did say, oh, when these babies get weaned, I'm going to be selling them. I'm going to be getting rid of the extras. So he is doing, to me, in my mind, a commercial business out of a residential neighborhood.
Absolutely.
That's something that the mayor can look into and take care of. But I do think at our next workshop on this permit he had, I think we really need to consider changing some numbers on it, and I will bring it up.
12 is absolutely ridiculous.
I think 3 is too many.
Could it not be
Absolutely.
revoked? The
Why don't
permit
you
be
consider-
revoked altogether?
Consider revocation completely.
Well, that's an option as well. Manager Ross, you have anything you want to add?
This permit predated my tenure. I'm not going to plead ignorance. I'll take notice of it because it's in the file, but I will look into this. I'll get with our code enforcement office, our police department, and Attorney Chris Fry, and we'll come up with the recommended solution.
Thank y'all for coming. I've talked to some of you personally. In my front yard, I told Ronnie Martin I was his paper boy. I've lived down there. We was one of the, I think, the 5th house in that neighborhood when I moved down there in 68. So I know the neighborhood very well. I know the situation you're talking about. Thank you for coming and bringing it to our attention. As Manager Ross said, we'll get the proper people involved. Yes, ma'am.
Christine McGreevy. Could the county health department go and inspect for sanitary issues too?
Yes.
That's something we'll look into those. Anyone else need to address the council?
Actually, as far as
Hold on just a
sanitary-
second. Ms. Jones back here.
I'm Judy Jones, and I live down in the neighborhood, and I've not had any problems with them, but we can hear the chickens growing, whatever they do, and, the ducks has got out, and they've got in JC's garden and messed in them.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
nobody wants that.
Right.
So if they come in our yard, they're
Yeah.
dead.
You don't have duck parks.
We'll have ducks. But I called Travis about a month ago on the fence, and that's unsightly within itself.
Sure.
That they're fencing all the way around their whole house, you know. And,
I mean, that he has the right to do. There's no code that.
no, that's what Travis said, you know, and that's what somebody said
An
something.
electric
to me,
fence,
so I
code
called.
different.
But is there, something that could be changed that he has to take them all away?
Well, that's what we'll, as Manager Ross said, we'll get the proper people to look into that.
And if he's, you know, throws
Councilman
a
Brewster
fit,
mentioned-
take reinforcement with it,
He will,
you know,
we'll
I
discuss
don't
it
know.
at next workshop, sure.
but I've heard about it.
Okay.
So, let's get it fixed, okay?
Okay.
One last thing. Yesterday morning I came out, and all of this is just totally in spite of his neighbors. Yesterday morning I actually came out and there was one in my garden, and he had lifted up his electric fence to where one could get out. So it's like, if you're gonna have a barrier, keep your animals in it, number one. But when you're lifting them up to where animals can get out onto other people, I mean, it's just blatant disrespect for city code, for your neighbors. It's disrespectful all the way around, and I hope it's addressed very soon.
We will. We'll address it. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
Okay, anyone else have something they'd like to bring before the council on another issue, another matter? Give you time to do that.
Jeff, I've been asked by several people where we post these videos. If you just go to our website, redskinradio.com, we post these meetings there, and I'm here as much as I can when I don't have a ball game.
Okay, thank you, Chip. We've talked to Chip about when we get in our new facility, maybe it's something we can do, Facebook Live, do a live thing, we'll see where that goes. But you can, in the meantime, go to his website and get it. Anyone else have anything they'd like to address the council about before we get into the rest of our agenda? Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We have two set of minutes to approve. First, draw your attention to the regular minutes. I noticed a discrepancy on the minutes and talked to Ms. Picone about it. She has since put a correction to the minutes. Draw your attention to that. It was resolution number 2019-06, which was authorizing the settlement agreement with Lynn Millsaps. The minutes that were mailed out said it was unanimously passed, which was incorrect. So you have a correction to that. It says upon a roll call vote, the ayes were James, Dixon, Bivens, and Brewster, and Harris voted no. So that's a correction to the minutes. So I guess first we need to take a motion to accept the correction, the minutes.
So make a motion.
Okay. Have a motion second to correct the minutes. Any question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, now we need a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes with the supporting amendment.
I have a question first on that.
Sure.
And I don't know the rule to it, so Stephanie can answer me. However, there was other people, and y'all are present tonight, that spoke at the meeting. How are they not supposed to be recognized in the minutes, or?
Not necessarily. I mean,
You mean by
if
name?
they had something unique to say, or
Well,
there was an hour and a half.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I mean, they just weren't recognized at all.
I didn't know who a lot of them were. They didn't all state their names.
Thought we did say. I think, yeah, I agree with you, man. I think it would be accurate.
I mean, and you all are here, and I just, to leave you out of it, you all spoke. That was my only thing. Like I said, I don't know the rule to it, and I'll let you all figure that out, but I did notice that when I was reading them, that you all were not recognizing it.
I think as Ms. Pacona said, this was probably her most difficult minutes to compile of her
Yes.
40-something years.
Well, 20-something.
Or 20-something.
Doing minutes.
So it was very, very hard to do. Right. Any other questions about the minutes? No, I'll entertain a motion to approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. A motion, we have a second? Have a second. Councilman Brewster. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, no? Okay. Councilman, did you get that, Stephanie? Okay. Now the minutes from the special call meeting, which was April 1st, 2019. Those were also attached, and we'll have questions about those, corrections, or if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the special call meeting. Okay, we have a motion.
I make a motion to receive.
Okay, thank you. Councilman James, you have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Dixon seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, minutes are approved. Now have fuel bids. You can see the fuel bid here, the low bidder for the purchase of fuel on March 21st, we received from Rogers Petroleum for the amount of $16,220. And the breakdown is listed there for unleaded and low sulfur undyed diesel. What's the pleasure of the council?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Have a second to approve fuel bid with Rogers Petroleum. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item is a motion to compensate our city attorney, Chris Fry. I'm glad he's here tonight. So it's recommended to consider the attorney service contract for the city at a monthly retainer of $2,500. And LUB will approve theirs separately. So this is just for the city.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilman Brewster. Councilman Brewster recommends the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman James. We have a motion and a second to approve the monthly retainer of $2,500 for our city attorney. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you for that. We'll get to the ordinances. Remember, on the ordinances, we have to have first and second readings. So this is first reading on these, correct? Here we have here. So first reading is the approval of Amendment 10 to the intergovernmental agreement continuing the Planning and Community Development Department, which we discussed this at the workshop. So do we have any questions about that? That's for the planning services for the county. The annual cost is $25,000. Any questions? Okay, I think we need to have a roll call vote, correct? Oh, we need a motion first. A motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Councilman Dixon makes a motion, Councilman James second. Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember James.
Aye.
Councilmember Bivens.
Aye.
Councilmember Brewster.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll have to assign a second reading for that as well. We'll go ahead and go through the next item is amending the 2018-2019 fiscal year budget. Budget amendments were attached and discussed at the workshop. Is there any questions about those? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments.
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Bivens, do you have a second?
Second.
Councilman Brewster, second. And ask for a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Bivens.
Aye.
Councilmember Brewster.
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember James.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, the next ordinance on first reading is the comprehensive revision to the personnel rules and regulations. As requested, the personnel rules and regulations are provided in the packet. Hope everybody had a chance to look at those. If we determine they're ready for approval, they'll need to be approved by an ordinance with first reading tonight, public hearing, and second reading. If any changes are made after first reading, we'll have to do a second and third reading as well. So I know the resident requirement was the main issue we're looking at. That's listed in there. So is there any discussion? About
I want to commend Jason, y'all worked hard on that, you know, I mean, I think, and I talked with Jason tonight, they thoroughly went over it, and I've read through it, and I think it looks very good.
very professional, I think.
There's always gonna be something that comes up later that you think we should put that in there, or should have worded it different, but
We'll
for
do
the
that
most
with
part,
amendments as it comes up with
Yeah.
something.
I think it looks, y'all do a good job.
Just a reminder too, this is something that this is not a handbook, this is
Yeah.
personal rules and procedures. Council don't approve the handbook, it's a management tool.
So this is something that can be amended to? Okay.
Manager Ross, you have anything to say about the policy and procedure manual?
No, so between, last, regular meeting, voting meeting, and this meeting, there was a public workshop held where, this subject matter, was discussed at the request of, council. We did put forward an amendment to, the personnel rules, which would, allow flexibility in terms of hiring. There is a long-standing requirement in the personnel rules that city employees live within the city of Loudon or within the utility district. What this amendment does, it adds flexibility to that where technical or managerial expertise are unable or are difficult to be filled within a pool of candidates within the restriction requirements, that I have flexibility to hire outside those restrictions so long as the commute time is reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Director Brown, do you have anything to add to that? Okay. Any other discussion? I agree with Councilmember Bivens. I think it's very thorough, it's well needed. I think it's a good document, and a lot of time and effort went into it, so.
Our old one's been amended several times over several years, and it's a good time to get a new one and start fresh. And it's not much, I mean, it's not much different, it's just
So,
worded a little cleaner.
remember, we're approving the entire document tonight. So we have a motion to approve the procedure manual.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Bivens, have a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you, Councilman James. Have a motion and a second to approve on first reading the Personnel Rules and Regulations Policy Manual, so we'll ask for a roll call.
Councilmember Bivens,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Brewster,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
And have to think on that issue. We can't amend things that's on this policy.
It would be brought up if it was a, wish of the council to change it, sure.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye. We'll go ahead and set a public hearing for those. I think 6:20, 6:15 for all of them. We just do them one at a time.
Like 6:15,
Yeah.
6:20, 6:25.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
6:15, 6:20, 6:25.
Okay, thank
And now we have resolutions. First resolution is acknowledging the TCRS rate effective July 1st, 2019. I'm going to turn this over to Manager Ross and let him, explain. We discussed this at the workshop, and hopefully if anybody had any questions, they could contact the Manager Ross during the week.
Yes, sir. The city participates in the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. Every year, we receive from the state a recommended contribution rate for each employees. Because of the performance of the investment funds, the stock market and other factors, our contribution for next fiscal year has decreased. It was overall within the city and an 8.19% of reduction. That's a tailwind on our budget process. However, we want to keep the fund robust and prepare for leaner times, which will likely be ahead. So I'm recommending a 1% above the minimum requirement, which would carry it at 9.78% for general employees and 13.28% for public safety employees.
Any questions about that? I think it's coming at a good time for our budget, so.
I think it's very proactive to go ahead and do the 1%.
Yeah, because it's not going to stay.
No,
Right. It's not going to stay, right. So, what's the pleasure of the council? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Dixon, have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Councilmember James, we have a motion and a second to approve the effective rate of the TCRS retirement system effective July 1st, 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next is authorizing a new hauling tractor and diamond boom mower to be considered surplus. The new one has arrived, and is it put into service yet?
Yes,
There it goes. All right. The old one has 7,300 hours, as he mentioned in the workshop, and has repetitive transmission issues. So he would like permission to put this on gov deals. Any discussion about it? Any questions? Does anybody want to buy it?
Yeah.
If not, would entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Councilman Brewster, second.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Dixon. We have a motion and a second to approve surplus of new hauling tractor and diamond boom mower. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Now, what we're all here for. Accepting quotes for street paving, resurfacing. So Manager Ross, I'm gonna turn it over to you. You have some maps.
Yes, distributed throughout the room and including the back table is a map of the current street paving proposal. This has been considered by the council for the past 2 months. It's been workshopped repetitively, and we made some revisions to it. And I want to compliment Public Works Director Ellis Scruggs for taking the revision and going back and securing fresh quotes. We solicited Duracap Asphalt, Patty Construction, Rogers Group, and Ford Springfield Paving offer quotes on these 4 city streets. The Patty Construction quote was not here in time Friday to go out in your packet. You've received a updated information today that's been distributed to you. Of the 3 quotes received, the low bid came from Duracap Asphalt at $476,399.
All the quotes were fairly close, weren't they? Each other.
Yes.
Some streets were higher than it all kind of averaged out. Councilmember James, you have any expertise in any of these? All 3 paving companies reliable?
I would hope so.
Yeah. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time coming. As you can see, the streets listed, Carter Machine Road, Carter Street, Wood Avenue. And I appreciate Councilman Brewster's input about Commerce Street. I think that's a wise change there. That gives us, once Highland Avenue's finished, that from 72 to town, that'll give you new pavement all the way. Yeah.
And heavily traveled streets also.
Okay, so is your recommendation to award the contract to Duracap Asphalt?
Yes, sir. For these 4 connector streets
Okay.
in Loudon that are heavily receive high traffic counts
Okay.
in comparison with other streets.
Heard the recommendation from, I'm assuming, Director Ellis, Scruggs, and Manager Ross?
Yes, sir. Just to clarify one thing about time scheduling.
Okay.
Rogers Group, Haddish Construction, they're both available sometime in May. Duracap, because they're a little bit busier, they're sometime mid-June as far as scheduling, just to make sure that's, transparent.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Can you lock in a date once we decide on one?
I could get a lot closer to
A
you.
lot closer to it?
Your cap, there was some question about whether we wanted to wait, do an amendment to this fiscal year budget or put it in next year's fiscal year. That, they could say that they basically told me they could do either or. If they had a commitment to us soon, they told me they could guarantee to be done by this year's fiscal budget, but we'd have to, award it pretty quickly.
I make a motion to go with your cap.
Thank you, Councilman Bruce. We have a motion to go with your cap asphalt. Councilman James, second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Start putting down the pavement.
There you go.
Next item on the agenda is department reports. I know Chief Webb's out of town, so Sergeant Evans, do you have anything?
I don't have much from the police department, Mayor, other than I think Chief Webb had stated last time, we just finished a lot of our annual training this last month. Now on the sort of the tail end of that, the report came out from Statewide that the city of Loudon was once again in the top 10 in the state of safest cities, and we came in at number 7.
Good
job.
Good deal.
And we've been in the top 10 for, we have been number 1 at some point.
Several years now.
Right. Chief Brubaker.
No, sir, nothing to report.
Anything else? Okay. Travis, you have anything?
No, sir.
Ellis?
Just a few things. Our Freightliner rear loader, which is our newer garbage truck, we've been having quite a few issues out of it with the DDS system. We've had the technician in and out. So if you see that, the older truck out and about, that's why. We are working on it. Unfortunately, it's not in warranty anymore. We're about a year out of warranty. It's only got 25,000 miles, unfortunately. It's something we're dealing with right now with the Premier Trucking. The other thing, you see our guys out working near the Family Dollar. We've got a concrete tile box that we're working on, as well as the sinkhole you noticed on the other side of Highway 11 by the basketball courts. We've got a tile that's collapsed and separated. We're just working on getting prices. Because it's such a big tile, it's a 54-inch tile, it's going to take a large trench box and procuring that, getting a piece of equipment that'll put it in place. It's just a lot of pieces to get that job done. So that's what's going on.
Is that why the water backed up there so bad?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons. We're hopefully addressing that by the Family Dollar, making that.
I saw him working on that today. Director Brown, you have anything to bring up? Director Harrell?
I think I do. I haven't had anything in a while. Talk about king catfish.
I had that down. Yep.
Celebrity Fishing Day is May the 2nd. That is for the, I think, the mayors, the county mayors.
I hope everybody's ready for second, because
and of course,
win that thing.
Mayor Harris. And then there have been a couple others, I think, that will be on that as well. Hopefully, a couple of celebrities out of the Knoxville TV station will ride along on the boats and help put the debate on the hook for us. So, looking forward to that. Then after the event concludes at 4 p.m. on that day, we'll have a street fest in downtown Loudon, just kind of, I guess, celebrate the fishing tournament and have a little festival downtown. So, invite everybody out.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Anything else?
Can I, on Mark's it was in our packet on the workshop, what we're considering, and Mark, you can do the explanation on this. We're in the process of making our parks, all of our parks, is no more vaping in the parks and no more smoking. Mark, you want to elaborate on that for a second?
Yeah, I'll stand up on this one. This is kind of an important thing. It's also important to me. It's close to my heart. This is not something that we're going to create the book for. This is being done in parks all across the nation. Tennessee's lacking in behind some of the other progressive states because we're a farming state that still farms a lot of tobacco. We all have loved ones. Some still participate with the use of smoking, and now that we have all the electronic cigarette, which is taking place of smoking, we all have family members that have had problems with it. Dr. Bud Goddard is chairman of a recreation advisory committee, and he's passionate about this as well. He sees a tremendous change in kids' lifestyles when they come from a family that has given up the smoking habit, and how much healthier the children are, and how much improved their ear infections and throats and things like that. Plus just the fact of eliminating that peer pressure of a child seeing those on the table at night and the child wanting to do it. But he's also very passionate about the e-cigarettes, what we know as vaping. And he's a little more passionate, I guess, on that than he is the tobacco, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm sure he would let the county council speak. But vaping, we don't know what it's doing to us. FDA's working on it, they've been working on it for a couple of years. We do realize that there are some unknown chemicals that are in the vaping. A lot of people have socially accepted it as their teenagers are doing it because it's better than the alternative. And it's not. We don't know that yet. We do know that it's a huge nicotine draw for that person that starts vaping. I was talking to the ladies at Loudon this afternoon about that, and they're actually seeing parents come in and buying it for their children because they think it is a safe alternative to that. So we're going to be talking about that in the coming workshops. Manager Ross and I talked about it, and we want you to be aware. Again, we're not writing a book. It's just something that, you know, times are changing, and we're a little more knowledgeable about smoking and the effects it has, not just on you, but on your entire family and everyone that's around you. And we have some ordinances already in effect. Loudon Municipal Park is a non-smoking facility, and we still have some issues there where people won't step outside the gate, they don't want to go to a smoking zone. Would it be easier just to say all the parks are non-smoking parks? And I think maybe in your packet last month you may have received some of the cities that have already done it in the state of Tennessee. It's time, folks, and it's here, and I think we need to get on the bus and do our share, and whatever that may be, that's for you guys to decide. We'll bring you all the documentation to help, hopefully make some good healthy choices on this. Just read an article the other day that tobacco products kill more people than opioids and alcohol combined, and that's sad because we see both of those. We see all the commercials about this. And, think about that, but tobacco is a killer. And thank you, Tim, for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So that's the direction you're headed.
Just continue to bring you more information about it.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Bivens, you have anything to report on?
Well, we were supposed to have a stakeholders report tonight from the Loudon County Solid Waste. But their contract that we were working on got thrown out by Santec. So we are starting over again. They have given us a new amendment. I say contract, but it's an amendment to the original contract. They have given us a new amendment to look at. We literally got it just right at the meeting. So we didn't have time to review it before the meeting, so nothing's been voted on at all yet on it. If you all are concerned or interested in that, please come to our next meeting. We'll be discussing it. We actually have a special call meeting that we're going to have April 30th. We're going to do a special call just so we can discuss that new amendment, and then hopefully get some work done at the next regular meeting. So
At the annex?
yes, it'll be at the courthouse annex over there in the basement. But so sorry, I don't have anything to bring to you today from that, but we're starting over new. 4 years. But that's okay. Progress.
Ex-Councilman Stewart might want to. No.
He's been here, done that.
Yeah. No way, huh?
Yeah.
Took me by surprise.
It took
me by surprise.
Yeah, it took all of us by surprise.
Councilmember Bivens. Councilmember Brewster, do you have anything else to?
Do we have the property going to Riverview Golf Course? Did we get it on the market? The old Riverview Golf Course? We waited on a couple months ago.
Oh, I did speak to the real estate brokerage you suggested, and they were putting together a proposal, but I've not received it yet.
And as we all know, Parks and Rec's gonna be homeless here pretty soon. The EDA property, are they making any progress on moving out of that? Because I don't know what the legal procedure be, if I get with Chris on it, but Van Hoos Concrete is desperately wanting that property. They want the first option on it, and they're willing to build us a Parks and Rec center in some kind of trade if we can do that legally. They're wanting to make it their corporate headquarters.
there's different ways to go about it. While we don't own the depot, we do have a long-term lease in effect for it with the railroad. And what we did with the depot in order to draw new business to Loudon was we advertised a request for proposals from all who would be interested in it, and we did receive a restaurant proposal. We could take the same approach, and we could put out a request for proposals for the Williamson House. If what you're talking about is feasible, that would be something very specific that could be listed out and explained in that proposal. There has been some discussion about this building also being considered for alternate use. I think the decision point there is to demolish or reuse, and there could be an RFP for that as well. And if there is genuine interest for this building, it would be 100% up to you. But if it's not going to be torn down, then I think the Parks and Rec Department would have the ability to stay until that transition took place, or move back into their former side of the building, which could be facilitated just with the repair of the HVAC system there. But we've got some time. We've got a large window to operate in. That would be one avenue to see alternative uses of these buildings and also facilitate the transaction we're talking about at the Williamson House.
The progress on the new city hall, today was the original moving day. Where are we at on that?
My earlier communications listed May 11th as a move-in date. That was a soft move-in date. We're having trouble coordinating different contractors for the IT and communications inside the building. Our fiber contractor, internet through Charter, as well as Besco, our electrician, and our telephone system vendor, coordinating those different contractors. May 11th was going to put us under a real time constraint. So in order to give us more time, get everything settled in and all the offices lit and operating, we pushed back the move-in day to Memorial Day weekend. All our essential employees to facilitate that move are all in town and available, and with many other employees traveling or enjoying that weekend, we think we'll have plenty of time to work and get things done for a May 13th. I'm sorry, for the Tuesday after Memorial Day for the employee move. I'm still confident that we can hold our first public meeting in the new facility on May 13th, because all we're lacking there is the furniture in the public space as well as the audio-visual equipment, and those two things are still lined up. So I think we look good for a May 13th opening of the public side of the building, which is the more important side of the building. We'll take care of back office when time permits.
They'll give you another day too with Memorial Day, that long weekend to work things out. So this could be the very last public meeting held
by the city council.
By the city council in this space. Anything else, Councilman?
Thanks, man.
Well,
Councilman Dixon?
Well, as far as the utility goes, they're continuing putting in the AMI meters, and they're ahead of schedule. Well, I get it, and it's set on the 9-month program. So hopefully they'll get all that done within this year. If not, weather permits, I guess. And then they've signed an agreement with this company to go ahead and begin on Highland Avenue, putting in the new water lines and gas lines. And that'll be, in May, didn't they say?
Yeah.
Sometime in May.
May through October.
Yeah, so